Hey guys, this is Jerry Mateo with In the DAW, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Plugin Alliance Brainworks BX Console G. So like the other two consoles that I did a video on, this has a very similar architecture. It uses the tolerance modeling technology to actually emulate 72 individual channels, when what they did is they actually modeled one, they got the tolerance specs for all of the components, and they basically rebuilt the console from scratch digitally within those specs. So you actually have 72 very, very accurately emulated consoles. Now, let's get started with the whole basic controls. You have your high and low pass filter. The high pass filter starts off at 16 hertz, goes all the way up to 350. If you hit the times 3, it starts off at 48 and goes all the way up to 1050. The low pass filter starts off at 22K, goes all the way down to 3K. And then if you divide it by 3, it starts off at 7.3K, goes all the way down to 1K. You can also send this into the dynamic sidechain, which basically allows you to have a very clean and very precise sounding bandpass filter, so you can really have your dynamic section listening to specific frequencies. After that, we have the compression section. Now, this is actually one of my favorite sections because the G console's channels actually have very intuitive compressors. It literally is just a ratio that starts off at 1:1, goes all the way to infinity to 1. You have your threshold plus 10, all the way down to minus 20. You have your release, which starts off at 0.10 seconds, goes all the way to 4 seconds. You have your fast attack button, which you can just double click to activate or deactivate. You have your dry wet knob right here. You have your link, which basically turns it from multi-mono into stereo. And then you have your high pass filter for the detection circuit. This is off, but goes all the way up to 2000 hertz. You have your secondary release, which is great to prevent any pumping and stuff like that. Then we have our expander gate section with the awesome inversion that allows you to actually listen to what you're gating, and you can actually create a really cool ducking effect with this. Now, if you have the expander, it just has the range from 0 to 40. You have your threshold, which starts off at plus 10, goes all the way down to minus 30. But if you hit this, it starts off at minus 20 and goes all the way down to minus 60. Your release is 0.10 seconds all the way to 4 seconds, and then you have the fast attack button. But if you're in the gate section, they've actually added the hysteresis knob, which is basically a secondary threshold to help keep your gate as precise and clean as possible. Now, a really cool thing is you're actually able to use the E and the G series channel compressors here, which is really great because you get 2 different flavors in one console. Now, you also have the key input, which basically allows you to key an external sidechain, so you can send something like a bass guitar into a kick or a kick into a bass guitar or whatever you want. After that, we have our EQ section. This is probably my favorite section. We have 1 high shelf, 1 mid-frequency band, 1 lower mid-frequency band, and 1 low-frequency shelf. Now, these are pretty standard, except for the G series console actually had these times 3 and divided by 3 sections in their mid-band. Now, the shelf goes from 1.5K all the way to 16K, while the mid-frequency bell can start off at 600, go up to 7K, and then if you times it by 3, it starts off at 1.8K, goes all the way up to 21K. You have the EQ types, which is basically switching it between the black and brown style. They have a completely different sound and really help you dial in the specific frequency that you want. Then you have the low mid-frequency bell. This starts off at 200, goes all the way up to 2500 hertz. If you divide it by 3, it starts at 67 hertz, goes all the way up to 833. The low frequency shelf starts at 30, goes all the way up to 450 hertz. You have the ability to send this into the sidechain section, so you can actually just have this EQing kind of what it's listening to. And you can put it pre, which basically sends it before the compressor. Next, we have the input gain, which is plus and minus 10 dBs. You have your virtual gain, which is how much noise and hiss you'll get. You have your phase inversion, your total harmonic distortion knob, which basically allows you to have the saturation from the G series console, your mute button. Then you can choose which channels you're using from here. And if you turn off analog, it basically makes it a 1-to-1. If you turn it on, it makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, stuff like that. You can randomize one channel or all the channels. It will give you a notification. You have your output meters, and then you have your nice little fader. Anyway, let's get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab the acoustic guitar, put this in solo, and then I'm going to also grab the vocal and put this in solo. We're going to actually bypass both the console Gs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this. This is going to sound very muddy and boxy, and then we're going to turn on both the console Gs, and you're going to see how it does a really great telephone effect. So here we go.
So baby, let me go.
Turn on.
Let me go. She's coming up to greet me.
Awesome. Now, next we're going to actually use the main guitar, which is actually a very clean guitar, and it's not telephone. And this is actually using the console G to really, really help emphasize its positive properties. So if I have a bypass, you're going to listen to it. It sounds very muddy and very dark, right? Let's turn it on, off, and back on. That is night and day. And the vocals, not so much night and day. These were recorded pretty well, but they do have a little professional shine to them after I've used this. The console G is using the E series compressor. Let's have it bypass and we'll play it real quick.
She's got it bad for me.
And then we'll turn it on.
She's got it bad for me.
It sounds way better. And yeah, it's a little bit louder, but that's because there's lots of dynamic sections right here. So if we actually bypass it,
She's got it bad.
you can see that it's jumping up and down a lot. And with it on,
She's got it bad for me.
and then the EQ is just doing amazing work at cleaning this up. So let's have these both on real quick. We're going to bypass this console G and then bypass the vocal channels. And let's see how this sounds.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
Right? So now we're going to turn on all our console Gs and you're going to hear how this sounds now.
She's got it bad for me. I sip on her poison tonight.
I love this thing. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. This is Jerry Mateo with In the DAW, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.